What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer, taking a look at my most updated Sacred Beast list. That includes not all the Yubel cards, excuse me, Newbell. It is the field spell, and I do run one copy of the Infernal Grave Squirmer, which I will kind of explain this card specifically as I go along. But let's go card by card, and at the end I will show a few gameplay videos to showcase really what this deck can kind of do. It's kind of weird, but it's also really fun. So 2 copies of Imperm. I do run 10 going second card, so pretty good. Driver, obviously, is just kind of a brick. I do run the Delta, which is a spell negate, and I also run Gamma. These 2 can be brought out from the deck, obviously, with your Gigantic, which is really important. So if you have one in your hand, you can grab the other one. So most of the time your end boards are going to end on IP Masquerena, meaning that if you use this driver for your IP Masquerena, or with it, I should say, you get to use driver again. So these 2 cards, Delta and Gamma, also let you special summon the driver from the graveyard, which is really important. Just can't special summon it from the banish pile. So that's where IP comes in to use it. This card's really good. 3 copies of Ash, 3 copies of Droll. So there you go. There's your 10. Technically, not technically, it should be 11, but yeah, driver is just a normal vanilla monster. Not something you want to see very often. 1 copy of the Lord Seer of Thunder, which can be searched out by your Dark Summoning Beast. I guess I'll just go ahead and shift these up here just to make things simple, but obviously 3 copies of the Dark Beckoning Beast, and I do only run 2 copies of the Chaos Summoning Beast. So the deck is obviously much more consistent now. Puri Res Map searches everything in the Sacred Beast engine. Nightmare Throne searches everything in the engine. Opening of the Spirit Gates searches everything. So you gotta have 12 copies of everything, so you don't need to run this card at 3. It's not really actually something you necessarily want to see in your hand too often because it's a level 1, and it doesn't work with your Sprite monsters. So everything revolves around Dark Beckoning Beast. It's 1 copy of itself, obviously, when you normal summon it, but searches you another kind of piece of the puzzle, which is really important. The consistency is kind of insane now. And then onto the tiny little Sprite engine here. So 1 copy of Jet, 1 copy of Red, 1 copy of Blue, 1 copy of Carrot. So obviously, this is a infinitely accessible deck besides Sprite Starter, but yeah, through just 1 Dark Summoning Beast, you can do a lot of summoning, and you will always, because it's a level 2, and then Spirit Gate brings it back, you can normal summon, even if it gets impermed. You go into Almirage, you bring it back, and then there you go. You've now gone into Sprite Sprint, right, which is like amazing. Very cool that that's even possible to do. So you don't really have to run too many of these cards. You can just run 1. If you see 1, you grab the other. Everything is everything in this deck. It's one of those kind of decks like Raid Raptor, where you don't really need to run 2 copies of anything, because at some point you'll probably get access to it. This is probably the most weird part of the deck profile, something I've been testing around and something I'm really happy about. I only run 1 Angler and 2 Beaver. Now that may be a cardinal sin, meaning that if you draw one of these, it kind of stinks, but at the same time, you see it less often. I used to run 3 Nimble Beaver, and I just hated seeing it. I just saw it in my hand way too often. It's not a card you want to normal summon in this deck, right? The normal summon in this deck comes from Dark Beckoning Beast. Sometimes you'll get, bitten from it. This card's not too bad, right? Because opening the Spirit Gates can discard it. So it's really just one, you don't want to see either of these Beavers. And yeah, something to keep your eye on. I don't know. It's not something I feel necessarily too strong about. You can run 41 cards. It's not against the law. But this is something, through my tiny little bit of testing over the last couple days, something that I actually kind of like. And then this is the new card. So this is very searchable for a lot of reasons. You can't use it with Puri Res Map, unfortunately, because you can't activate it from the hand. But you can get it with Nightmare Throne, and that's pretty cool. This also searches it, if I'm not mistaken, or it can bring it back. But at the end of the day, if you have all the pieces in your hand and you don't want to search anything else, right? You don't want to search extra copies of something because you don't want to. You can use Nightmare Throne to search it as an extender. Not really something you want to see too many times in your hand. It's kind of perfect at where it's at. 3 copies of Puri Res Map, right? This is just everything in your Sacred Beast engine that you need. Sprite Starter is a very good card. Now you do, in any normal combo when you're not interrupted, you get to draw 2 cards with Fallen to Paradise. So you've comboed through like most of your deck, it feels like. So you're either going to grab hand traps or you're going to grab extenders like Sprite Starter. So either situation is obviously very good. I do run 1 copy of Cerulean Skyfire. I think this is quite important. If you do also have all the pieces in your hand, Dark Summoning Beast can search you Cerulean Skyfire. and that's very good. This comes up every once in a while. It's a very good card. It's a spell negate. It beats Super Poly. It's one of the only cards in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That does it. And also, it sends your Hamon to defense position, meaning that your Sprite board is super duper protected, which is very important. 3 copies of Opening the Spirit Gates, talked about Fallen Paradise, and I've talked about Nightmare Throne. Now, the extra deck is kind of interesting. So, your end boards will be pretty good. You'll have a lot of interruption. It's usually enough. Not always, but a lot of the times it is. But finding lethal on the crackback is like the difficult part of everything. So, I'll talk a little bit about my journey of my extra deck here and kind of how I resolve this problem. This is Zeus with Downer. No problems there, right? Sky Cavalry. Pretty standard in every Sprite list, I feel like. You definitely want to have that going second option as an extreme emergency to have 2 pops with Zeus. 1 Gigantic. Never, ever, ever needed to use an extra copy. Herald of Pure Light is the way to, you bring out Gamma or you bring out Delta from the deck, you go into Herald, you detach, and then you get to add it right back. Here's a really cool interaction. I've talked about this a million times, but in the OCG, they would bring out Maxi and then do the same little combo, but I think it works great with these Gamma cards too. Or the Side-Frame cards, I should say. 1 copy of Gin Buster. I feel like this is probably something you could probably cut. I don't always get to do it, but if you do get lucky enough to see Grave Skirmer in your hand, through whatever means possible or necessary, it's a pretty good option. Because you get to bring back a beast, and you almost always have a dark on the board, whether that be like blue or whatever the case. 1 copy of Underworld. So you do go to IP Masquerena. That's like one of your premier end board pieces. So if you do get to, well, first of all, besides being a decent card, but if you do get to use Gamma, you'll now have pretty much the prerequisites to get rid of one of your opponent's cards if they're really hard to get rid of. So Delta or Gamma brings out your driver, and then now you have IP. This is 4 materials, and then the 5th is obviously going to be your opponent's. Something that I feel like is actually really good. I don't use it too often, and I guess it could be cut if necessary, but yeah. I do run one of the Charmers, the Dark one. Dark is kind of one of the more popular choices in any format, so I think that's kind of valuable. Maybe you could run the Fire one. Everyone runs Ash, pretty much. It's just something to help you link climb, because you do want to be able to get into the big guys like Boral Sword. Now, you can do Access Code as well, and it may seem weird because it does require 3 effect monsters, but you don't run any Link 3s, right? So you're always going to have to use 3 monsters to go into a Link 4, and normally that's Access Code Talker, but this does do a little bit more damage. You only have him Link 2, so that means that this card can only go up to like 4,000 versus this, which can do 6,000 damage and help you get to lethal. It's definitely the hardest part, the crackback. Side-Frame Lord Lambda. This is the card that lets you activate these from your hand even though you do control their monsters. SP Little Knight is insane. I don't feel like taking a loan out to buy this card for real. Sprite Sprin. This is just, one of your playmakers. IP Masquerena, Almirage, and then you can also go into Appa, right? You activate Gamma, activate IP Masquerena, and then I'll suddenly have a 3-mat Appaloosa. This is kind of a tech spot. You could put an Access Code Talker, whatever the case may be, but I think Appa is a decent choice when it comes to IP targets. But I would say probably 99% of the time, you're going to go into SP Little Knight, making sure you use that driver, because the cool thing is if you don't use your Gamma, well, first of all, Gamma can be used for your Carrot and whatever the case may be, or your Ren, but if it does get banished during the end phase, you don't use it, then you do get to search out Delta. You still have Lambda in your hand, so now you also have a spell negate. Pretty cool interaction. All right, let me just show you a few gameplay videos. The first one I'll show you is against Labyrinth. Why not? He does have infinite double imperm Ash Blossom. He is going to activate his Welcome Labyrinth. He's going to go ahead and normal summon. He's probably going to search like a little copy of the other one. So this is Big Welcome. This was Welcome Labyrinth. So there goes the Ash Blossom. He's going to attempt to activate this. I have an Ash of my own, luckily. But I still have to deal with double imperm. Let's see what I can do here. I'm going to normal summon. He's going to go for one of the imperms. That's okay. Like I said, you can go into Almirage. Go ahead and send that back. Now, I already had Starter in my hand, so this is kind of important because I didn't have to bring this back, right? Because I want to go into the one that the Spright Sprint. So there goes Ash, double imperm. I can still go into Spright Sprint, send the Angler, bring 2 out from the deck, and I'm off and comboing. I still get to draw 2 cards at the end of this too, by the way. And then my opponent's scoop. So triple interruption wasn't enough. It depends on the hand, right? I guess that's probably every deck in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Here is Sky Striker. He does have 2 forms of interruption, imperm, and then he does have effect failure. We'll see how I use it. I have all the pieces in my hand that I need. Now, I could have searched the smaller guy, and I still could have gone into, like, Fallen Paradise and everything, but that's okay. Let's see what I can make of this. There goes the imperm. So I can go ahead and bring this back. That's where the Squirmer is, like, kind of, like, really important. I already had Gamma in my hand, so that's kind of nice, so I don't have to search it out. Because Gamma is just a huge part of your end board. I can go into Carrot, I can bring something back, and then here I go. I can still end on a pretty decent end board, and I do have Starter as well to go for red. So I kind of have a little versatility, Gamma and everything like that. He's going to go for Upstart Goblin. He's going to try to get a token out. I do negate it, but he did also have the one that brings something else out. But I can just go into SB Little Knight. He's not going to be able to go to the battle phase, and I'm probably not going to be summoning enough for Nibiru, that's for sure. I'm going to go ahead and attack a couple times. It was imperm, so I have 2 monster negates, which should be more than enough. He's going to go for IP Masquerade and normal summon the effect Veiler. Try to pop something, but yeah, it was made with IP, right? It can't be destroyed. He's going to try to activate the Hayate. I'm going to go ahead and negate it with Gamma, and then he can't do anything. I'm going to search the other one. So it's kind of cool. I can't use it, right? Driver was banished, but at least I do get to dig in my deck a little bit. Normal summon. I can go into like Boral Sword Dragon or something like that, and then end the game out, which is kind of nice. Pretty cool. Let's take a look at Shaddoll. My opponent has Droll, triple attack. So kind of a weird hand on both sides here. He was running Invoked as well. It's like Invoked, Dogmatica, Shaddoll. Yeah, well, that's what you get, right? He does have Super Poly. He's going to go ahead and attack. So, yeah, the Droll did hurt me. Droll hurts super bad against this deck. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now I have, like, literally everything I could ever ask for. The Squirmer is going to be there, too. And this card is just so good for extension. It's actually kind of crazy. It's a really good one-of. It's like, if you have everything else, you can search that card out. Here's like the very, very traditional setup here. Now, if we didn't use Super Poly now, I literally would have been able to negate it. But I'm going to go into SP Little Knight. He's going to try to activate the Shaddoll Schism. I'm going to make it blank and also banish it so we can't use it anymore. Squirmer can bring back the Chaos Summoning Beast. Special summon here. Activate this. Get the Fallen of Paradise. Search to, get the 2 more cards off the top of my deck. Whatever the case may be, he's on 1 card. I'm going to be drawing 2 cards every single turn. And I think I kind of have like a big advantage there no matter what I got. Kind of interesting. This is like the perfect opening. Your opponent doesn't have any interruption. He's playing Tunes, which is kind of silly. But he does have triple tactics. But I think I'm going to have like plenty of negates here. So yeah, unimpeded. This deck's going to do some really cool stuff. This is super mega full combo. And there goes this. I can search every single piece that I could ever possibly need. Bring this back. Search out the big guy. I'm not locked into 2s just quite yet. I'm going to put it in defense position to protect my AP Masquerena and my Lambda. If I did draw Cerulean Skyfire off the top, when I do draw 2 cards, it's unfortunate, but I'll take it. This being in defense position is almost just as important as that. So there we go. I can detach. I have actually both now, so I have Delta and Gamma. I also had Starter in my hand. How ridiculous. And now I've searched pretty much every card in my hand. One of the cards I'm obviously not going to need. And I think I grabbed an Imperm off the top too. And this is so good. Spell Negate. This is another Spell Negate. There's a Monster Negate. I have Ash Blossom. I have Imperm. IP is going to be able to go off. I can go into like Apo or something like that. And yeah, it's over for my opponent. But yeah, that's kind of my updated list of Sacred Beast Sprite. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Other than that's going to do it for today's video. And I will see you guys next time.